straight up, hey, Peter, just like, FYI, I'm a virgin and it's like chill, but it's not chill for me. I think it would have been better because like, everything
Yeah.
that anyone has been saying has just been clear as mud. And sorry, we've been through this with Peter. I don't think he can understand what you're saying through like beating around the bush. He's a pretty straight up guy. So just like tell him straight up what you want him to know. And I think we'd all be a little happier.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it would be easier on the women too because they have to contrive all these different scenarios to try to get Madison to come out and say what she needs to say to Peter. I think, her mom was trying to get her to say something last week, and now they had to put all the women together in one house for the first time ever on Fantasy Suite Week just to make her uncomfortable.
With everyone. Yeah.
So, yeah. Lesson learned, just try to actually say, if you have these deal breakers, maybe early on in the travel dates is probably where you want to do it.
Yeah.
I get the influencer deals might be better a little later on, but it's just very uncomfortable. So, yeah, that was really the main story of this episode and kind of the cliffhanger as well. I had a lot of fun listening to your hometown date last week. It was much more entertaining than the other hometown date.
Thank you.
I was dying at Ethan, like picturing Ethan like pushing his bangs down, trying to look like Madison's dad, even though I don't think he looks like him, but it's just like
picture and sent it to you.
Yeah.
And then I know Justin Feinberg was a big fan of Doug figuring out on air that Crystal and Chris had broken up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. And axe throwing. What was it? What did it
Axe stomping.
Axe stomping.
Yeah, I remember when we used to do hashtags. I think that would have been our hashtag.
Been a good one. Yeah. And I also like your you'll have to break out the Victoria F impression again for this episode.
I don't even remember what it was.
I know, but it was good.
Okay. I'll just have to let the Victoria F flow through my veins.
Right. Yes. So we start out, they are going to Gold Coast, Australia, but we're starting out at where were they? They were in an airport, right? Where Maddie has to go talk to him. And
yeah, that was...
You basically covered what the conversation was in our opener.
Except instead of podcasting, it was about whatever it is that they're doing here.
Right. So what do you think Peter's understanding was after that conversation?
I'm not sure. I wonder it's because we had the context that it was a little bit easier to understand for us.
Right.
But I don't know. I think that I'm really not sure what he took away from that conversation.
She basically said, that it would be hard for her to accept an engagement, or she wouldn't want to accept an engagement if he was intimate with the other women. But she didn't say at all in that conversation like her personal reasons why. And she didn't say in any certain terms like, I will definitely leave or anything like that.
Yeah. Or did she say like, please don't have sex with those women?
Right. Yeah, it almost came off more like when Victoria or even Kelly were talking about like, yeah, this process is kind of hard for me and this isn't going to be easy. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. And it's kind of like a common conversation that everyone goes through to different degrees. Like, this process is so strange. I'm not used to sharing who I'm dating. And so I think it just seemed like another version of that to him, where he's like, yeah, okay, that's just something I'm gonna have to work through with Madison when it comes to it. And yeah, he had to, but I don't think he was expecting the reaction that he got from her. And of course she went third in her in
There
the
was a
order.
lot of things in this episode that felt very heavy-handed, I've got to say.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of them was obviously them all sharing one um, suite.
Yep. And Madison being
Uh,
the first one to arrive, as if it's like her own suite or Airbnb, what it looked like.
yeah, and then obviously um, Madison's date being last was, obviously Peter's gonna hook up with at least one of those women. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. And Hannah Ann goes first. And so Madison's in the suite. Then I think Hannah Ann arrives. Then Victoria arrives. And then Peter shows up and is like, hey, Hannah, ready to go on a date? And it's just kind of awkwardly seeing Madison and Victoria there talking about, okay, this is weird. Like, they needed something. They needed like a board game or something because they had nothing to talk about. It was so awkward. Because what can you really say? Because they're not going to admit to anything that happens. So you have to talk around it like, oh, how'd it go? What do you hope happens? So strange. But I'm honestly kind of surprised that they haven't done this before, just knowing the producers. Like,
Yeah,
obviously
that's a
they're
good
going to
point.
keep doing it now, right?
Oh, yeah, probably. Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Do you felt like we got the effect they wanted from it? Do you think it was worth the change, or do you think it just, like I said, felt heavy-handed or
Yeah, I
kind of
don't
pointless?
think we gained a ton from it. I think we would have gotten the same type of reaction from Madison in terms of just like her being worried about it in her own hotel room, you know. It's still the same downtime. I guess it was definitely more in her face. And, but I think you lose a little bit. Like, I think we lost some time on these one-on-one dates because of it. Like, we didn't really see too much of them like the next day, or
I felt like we got so little from these one-on-one. Like this whole season, I feel like we've gotten nothing from. I just don't remember what anyone talked about, what anyone said, what anyone what the point of any of it was.
Right. Yeah, I think it's hard to. I think you were talking about too the hometown dates. Like, usually you come away with a sense of like the town and what's going on there, and we meet their friends, and we didn't have any kind of unique things. Like, I can still remember like Becca's date with Jason in Buffalo, because they did like specific Buffalo things, you know. And you saw
I
his
took
personality.
Ethan to the Anchor Bar
Ooh,
the other day.
nice. Did you run into Jason and Caitlin? Because I think they were around there based on Instagram stories.
Really? No, I
They were
didn't.
in
I get
Buffalo
it.
not that long ago.
Huh.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what that's about. Just maybe all the Victoria F content that we need. The secret people showing up and warning about her. That was another thing too, where it's like that person showing up. Apparently, there were like other people waiting in the wings to talk about.
Yeah, like Lauren's mom,
Right.
like Lauren from RE Season's mom.
I almost feel like that would have been better. Like, I would have liked that more, I think. Or just like show everybody, like show the mob of people.
Yeah.
But that was another one where it was like, okay, this girl Marissa shows up and she just said, okay, she's broken up a lot of relationships. And so without any more specifics, like that could tell me like, oh, like in high school, like someone left his girlfriend for her because he fell in love with her, or she broke up friendships or whatever. Like, it was just so vague that it wasn't like what the rumors are, like breaking up marriages, you know?
This whole thing is just, like, this whole season is vague. That's, I think, a perfect description of it. It's just, it's vague.
Yeah. And there was a recent headline I saw that came out that Chris Harrison was on somewhere where he was talking about, I think he was on Rachel and Becca's podcast saying like they had to do this, putting all three women together to get things to move along. Like that Peter wasn't making decisions and Madison wasn't saying what she needed to say. So I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. But what did you think of Hannah Ann's date?
Yeah, I thought it was rude that they just left the Sea-Doo in the middle of the water.
I didn't even notice that.
Some
Just
interns gonna have to go
abandonment.
get that.
Right.
I am starting to like Hannah more and more every time. I thought she was like cute and funny on this date, and I think she said what she needed to say, and she got from Peter what she needed to get from him, and they had a
Mm-hmm.
good time. It's just like for them, I just don't see the point in him proposing to her at the end. I feel
Mm.
like she's still pretty young, and I feel like they could just have a really great dating relationship without the pressure of an engagement. Like it just doesn't seem totally necessary.
Yeah, and her
But I
dad
think
would
Pete,
definitely not be cool with it.
yeah, and I just think Peter's like too like I find he gets caught up in things like whenever he's with the person he's with, he just gets caught up in that and it's hard for him to find any perspective in that. So like being the bachelor, I feel like he's getting caught up in being the bachelor and is absolutely going to propose regardless of whether or not it's actually in his best interest. Like I thought
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing that I can now look back and appreciate about Colton as the Bachelor is that he was never going to do anything that he didn't feel comfortable with or that his partner wasn't comfortable with, just because that's tradition in the show.
Right. Although they probably thought that he would be just the type that would do whatever they wanted, that he would be
Yeah,
really producible.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah, so you mentioned things being heavy-handed, and I felt like Hannah's conversation about like, yeah, like I'm still gonna be here no matter what you do with other women, like that felt very produced to me, like almost like producers were worried about Maddie and what like that she would have an impact on him, and so needed that other side of someone being like, yeah, it's totally fine with me. Like, don't worry about me. Like, you have to do what you have to do. I don't think we've ever heard it spelled out like that before. Usually they're just kind of focusing on their relationship with the lead and not really acknowledging anything else.
Yeah, we go back to Courtney Robertson's book a lot, and she had mentioned in her book that she said to Ben, like, yeah, if you need to sleep with any of the other people, you can. I don't really want to know about it after, but sow your oats because once you're with me, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this time we got to see it aired a little bit. Yeah, so I do like her more. I just don't know if they're like the perfect fit, but
No, I agree with that.
yeah, we're down to only these three left. So if you're comparing her against Victoria F, who he goes on the next date with, so we see Hannah come back to the house, and this makes it even more awkward because she's just like, looking all cute, and they're just sitting there having to wait for her to show up. And like, oh, hey, how'd it go? Okay, it was great. What are you supposed to say? We hooked up, like, what are you supposed to talk about? So Victoria's next, and this one, they go on a helicopter ride. She was not nervous about the helicopter at all, interestingly enough. Wasn't she scared of heights?
I'm just having a hard time believing a lot of what Victoria says lately.
Yeah. And then they have kind of their personal conversation about her past relationship. We don't know which one this was, but I don't think it was Chase Rice because it was a 3.5-year relationship.
Yeah. I thought this was the date where Victoria came off the best this season. I felt like she was the closest she could be to what it is that we need from her.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was a little more honest. I think we were kind of breaking down the walls a little bit more, but we still weren't getting to a point where Peter could have a conversation with her without being like, well, it's fine. Just talk about it with me. And she says, I don't know. It's like, I get it, but we've been doing the I don't know for a lot of weeks now, and we're just not moving forward. And I feel like Peter was getting a little bit better at being like, hey, so this past relationship you had, like obviously something happened where you feel like you can't talk about things. And so why is that? And what is that? And what can I do to make it better for you?
Mm-hmm.
But she still just wasn't. Again, we got nowhere, and I think Peter just kind of gave up. I don't know, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it seemed like a little bit of an overreaction where it's just like, I don't know what you want from me, and I don't know what else to say about that. And like, he just wants to get to know you more, and
Yeah.
And then he just kind of boiled it down to like, yeah, I just don't want you to run away anytime we have a problem, which she basically has done every time. So I think it's a bad sign when they're just commenting like, "Oh, we're not fighting today."
Yeah,
Things
it's
are
awful.
great. Yeah.
You've been dating for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Again, I've said it a million times, like relationships aren't supposed to be like easy peasy pumpkin squeezy, but like they shouldn't be that hard.
Mm-hmm.
If it's that hard, if you're having to work that much for something with somebody you just met, like it's not worth it. The juice is not worth the squeeze, my friends.
Right. Let's see. What else did happen on this date that we were shown? So I have a theory because after she comes back, we don't see exactly. We see them cuddling in bed. They say it was like, she comes back and says it was productive.
I laughed at this too.
And then what else did they said afterwards, like it was just the things they say, like the euphemisms, like, got to know each other on another level. She said something like emotionally, it was like most of all or something. So then once Madison's on her date, and then we have Hannah Ann, and Victoria talking, that's when Hannah Ann reveals like the whole ultimatum thing. And I felt like Victoria was much more mad about it. And so my thought was maybe they didn't like fully have sex, and that she felt like, because why would you be mad after a date if you already had sex with him? And it's like, oh, obviously Madison had no impact on that. He's making his own decision. But it seemed like she was like, oh, she gave him an ultimatum, and like that's not right. Like that's messed up. Whereas Hannah was just kind of like, yeah, isn't it weird? Like,
yeah. So I would have guessed probably that Hannah had slept with someone that maybe Victoria hadn't.
mm-hmm.
Or, the way he said, I was intimate with them. I don't think that.
He didn't say like with both. He didn't say with one. He just said I was intimate.
Or I didn't look at the draft points, but I don't know if George gave either Hannah Ann or Victoria confirmed coitus points.
Right. It's not. Yeah, do we split the difference? Like it's confirmed that he was with at least one.
And intimate can mean different things.
Right.
Like, is Madison against blowsies? Like, we just don't really know all the qualifications here, do we?
Right, exactly. And she like didn't want details, and he didn't want to give details. So.
I want the details. I'm nosy.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. And then it makes me think back. Remember that preview? It was basically like, remember the tent sex? Was that Chris Soul season? Like there was that preview about like he had sex with Sydney in the hot spring. That never was part of the show. So like when I remember seeing him say that like I was intimate, I thought he was talking about Sydney. Like when I saw those previews way back when, because we're like, oh, that was confirmed. No, just one of those stupid previews that they, it was probably someone speculating or something. In the house, it was another woman saying it, not Sydney. So maybe Women Tell All we'll get to the bottom of that, but I doubt it. So yeah, that was my only thought on like why her reaction was so much. It just seemed like Madison just thought it was, or Hannah Ann just thought it was funny, kind of, or sort of weird, like that. Madison didn't tell him anything, and that she didn't do what she had thought she was gonna do, because I don't know when Madison confided in the women, but obviously she has, at least some of the women, about her virginity, and just not to Peter at all. So that's kind of an interesting move. Yeah,
gosh, and I really think that's maybe something you should talk about. Like, is there anything else you have to say about Victoria's F state?
No.
Okay. So, if that is your choice, I think you are obviously free to have that choice. But I do think it's something you should talk about pretty early on in your relationship, especially if you are dating your boyfriend's dating multiple women.
Right.
If part of the show you are signing up for includes an element of implied intercourseness.
Right.
And
And you know about
you
like
know,
his past with Hannah. So
yeah, like the reason he got the lead basically was because he intercoursed her 4 times.
that was his whole storyline.
Yeah, like why else? Why else?
Mm-hmm.
No other reason.
All those sweet discounts on flying. I don't know.
I mean, great point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I just feel like things should have been a lot more open about that, and it makes me wonder. Um, I grew up in a religious household. I'm not saying this is the case for everyone, obviously, but it seems like it's probably the case for many that sex is just not something that's discussed openly, or if it's discussed at all, it's that you shouldn't be having it until you find your end game partner.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't. I don't know. I feel like Peter was being set up to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Peter has done a lot of things wrong in this whole journey, but it's hard for me to get mad at him for having sex allegedly with 2 women he really wanted to have sex with. Like I don't know. Like what do you want? What do you want, Maddie? I'm sorry. I wonder if Peter was telling her that she was the one.
Mm.
And if he was doing that, then I get it more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like the way he reacted, like when he was like, "Oh, so you want me to call off everything else right now?" It made it seem like he would consider that almost like he was so into Maddie, and he said like, "I love Madison" in his confessionals.
But he also said he loved all of them.
Right. So yeah, he wasn't ready to. And then when they were talking, he kind of said like, well, I could coming into this week, I could see a future with the other 2 women as well. So